Welcome, everyone, to the Thousand Goddesses Gathering Wombheart series. My name is Mare Cromwell, and I'm a Gaia communicator and high priestess. I have surrendered to serve the Great Mother. So Mother Gaia asked me to organize the first Thousand Goddesses Gathering on the Washington Mall in 2016. This event is based on a Tibetan prophecy that when 1,000 goddesses or Tibetan Taras unite, the tone of our sacred earth will shift from fear to compassion. And since 2016, the Thousand Goddesses Gathering has evolved into a unified field of divine feminine ceremonies around the world. So the global grid in 2021 is on October 23rd. Please join us. So earlier this spring, Mother Gaia and the overarching spiritual council behind the Thousand Goddesses Gathering requested that this year we focus our ceremonies on our womb hearts to awaken them and connect them to Mother Gaia's heart. And the spiritual guidance was to interview wisdom keepers whose knowledge is deep about our womb hearts, to educate and inspire us as we plan our ceremonies. The guidance was also to make these interviews available for free to support all women. So I'm very thrilled to have the brilliant teacher, goddess, priestess, Diana Lam speaking with us today. And a little background about Diana. Fondly known as womb visionary, Diana began offering menstrual empowerment to women in the early 1990s. She's been on the leading edge of the global red tent movement since its beginning and has trained women in over 30 countries. Diana brought menstrual empowerment work to Israel, her country of origin, helping Jewish and Palestinian women surpass political and religious differences by deeply bonding around their shared cyclical nature, which is so beautiful. Diana is author of Becoming Peers, Mentoring Girls into Womanhood, and A Diva's Guide to Getting Your Period. She is founder of Red Tent Academy, Womb Academy, Red Moon School of Empowerment for Women and Girls, Red Tents in Every Neighborhood Global Network, and the Womb Activation Day, which she's going to talk about briefly, is coming up at the end of August, and also the International Red Tent Day, which is celebrated globally on November 8th. And her website is going to be in the text below this video, so please explore her work. Please, it's just so significant what Diana's been doing and is continuing to do.
Thank you.
So Diana, welcome. I'm just
so
thrilled to have you here. I've been getting your emails for years, and you're considered really a foremost teacher and expert in these realms of loving our cycles, embracing our wombs. I can't even get into all of it because I don't know everything that you do, but I know I'm very impressed with it. So our focus today is on our womb hearts, and I reached out to you because I knew you had a sense of what our womb heart was. So would you define womb heart for us?
Yes, first of all, thank you, Mayor, for having me and for offering this beautiful Thousand Goddesses flourishing, blooming, opening up for the people of the world, for women and for all people in the world. It's a beautiful offering, and I'm delighted and honored to be part of it. So, and the focus of the womb heart is beautiful because we all have a heart, not all of us have a womb. So let's start there. The heart is our capacity to feel, yet the womb is our capacity to be living cyclically. Those who have wombs live cyclically. We are all born solar. The solar essence is linear, and in its essence, it is piercing through illusion. And when we as women, girls, get our first blood, we're born as lunar beings. Our womb starts cycling with the moon. Until then, it's dormant. It's not cycling. We all, boys and girls, from birth until first blood, we are all heart-centered, and then the girls develop another center. So it doesn't show, the screen doesn't show, but I have a hand of my womb and a hand of my heart on my heart, and we have this dual focus as girls and women, which can connect our heart from that linearity of the sun to the cyclicity of the moon. So we'll talk more about it, but that's the short answer.
Okay. Um, so for you within our womb space, do you teach about a consciousness there, a heart space that is there right in our lower part of our chakras?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
I see the womb as a seat of our compassion, as a seat of our power, as a seat of our creativity. The fact that the womb has the ability to create and hold and sustain and foster new life is not only applicable to physical biological life, it is applicable to any and all creations. Some women choose not to bring children to the world, some women can't. Some women won't. It's all a womb space that is far greater than the ability to nurture biological life.
Mm-hmm.
So I see that as the heart of creativity,
Okay.
a place where
Beautiful.
we can gestate, grow, nurture, and birth our initiatives, our projects, our ideas, our compassion, our offerings to the world, our gifts to the world, that lives in our womb.
Okay. And in your courses and what you teach, do you help women learn how to awaken that part of their body, that sacred center, the creativity center?
So it's more than awakening. What I noticed in myself and in women around the world for decades of teaching is that our womb is a dumping ground for a lot of social and cultural spam. So it's not that it's not awake, it's that it's buried
Mm-hmm.
under so much cultural taboos and negativity and shaming
Mm-hmm.
and years of hearing from our parents, from our culture, from our society at large that menstruation is gross, that it's dirty,
Mm-hmm.
the mere belief that what we secrete from our body is dirty or gross is enough to shut down that center of creativity. So it's not so much awakening that I teach. I take women on a journey of traveling shamanically into our adolescence, into our first blood, into where those negativities started being dumped into our consciousness and into our physical womb as an energetic spam, and to start clear that and release that and let go, because we can't awaken something that's a dump ground. We have to clean it up first. So if we
Yeah.
go to the dump, we don't build a building or a garden on top of the dump. We clean it first.
Right.
So I help women clear and release and let go, and then we awaken, and then we empower, and then we put in place that which we have never received when we came of age, that was always a yearning for all women around the world. There's a yearning that now as adult women they may not even be aware of anymore. But women often tell me, I have healed a wound I didn't know I had.
Oh,
So the wound
yeah.
was so hidden. There are lots of wounds that women are aware of or people are aware of and they come to heal them. This one was so buried that it was not even on the radar.
Yeah.
But when you shed light on it, you realize how much woundedness there is there. And then you start healing. And then it's possible, I believe, at any age, regardless of our menstrual status, whether we bleed or not, at any age, to receive that welcoming, that honoring, that witnessing, that celebration that we haven't received as coming of age girl.
Mm.
And when we receive that, that awakens us. So
Yeah.
it's not a teaching of awakening, it's an experience of putting in place that which we yearned for and have not received, and it's never too late to receive.
Beautiful. And I would imagine you do some ancestral work with this too, then.
Yes.
Because
Yeah.
I mean, we were talking lineages of generations and generations of our mothers and their mothers and our fathers' mothers, where I love how you call it like the cultural social spam. That's an interesting term for it. It's detritus. It's emotional detritus, but it is layers and layers for
Mhm.
sure. I mean,
Yeah.
Cherokee teacher I was with for many years used to talk about our cultural conditioning, and this is
Mm.
what we're talking about here
Yes.
is the buried emotions there. Yeah, it's just, it's layers. Yeah.
Yeah, and I would just respond to your question about the ancestral lines and our maternal and paternal mother's line. Of course, this is where the legacy came from. Admittedly, in ancient cultures, in indigenous cultures around the world, there was empowerment, there was witnessing, there was celebration and rites of passage, but that stopped quite a few generations back.
Yeah.
And our great great grandmothers have become void and bereft of welcoming and rites of passage. And that lack they passed on to their daughters. And so it went passed down through the generation to our grandmother, who passed it to our mother, who passed it
Mhm.
to us. But the joyful moment in time which we are living in, I believe, is that we can change the tide, that this can stop with us.
Yep.
This generation of legacy of void and negativity and shame and pain can stop with us. And it is my experience that when we heal, we also heal back
Yes.
to the generations before us that are waiting as well to be healed. And of course, we heal forward because we then raise girls or help raise girls that will receive a completely different legacy than what we had. So we are a moment of shift and transformation in time. We need to do the shift for ourselves internally
Mhm.
and for our daughters or the girls we help raise.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Thank you. Powerful work. Um, oh boy, I think maybe I've already covered this kind of in a question. We're talking about it's not necessarily a question of awakening, but of like bringing forward, releasing the woundedness.
Yes.
Um, but do you have any sort of quick suggestions for accessing our womb heart, for accessing that womb space, that place of compassion and creativity?
I would say where a good place to start would be to sit with one other woman or more and tell the story of your first blood. Usually, this story is silent. It's
Mm,
amazing to me that as women, we often share so much of our traumas, of our abuses, of our molestation, of our rapes, and the recovery and the courage to heal. And throughout those stories, our first blood story is typically silent. And that's the kernel, that's where the bud was about to open to a flower and was trampled by the culture. And I would invite women to sit with one other woman, share your own blood, the first blood story, and invite her to share hers. Some women don't remember, so it doesn't matter if it's not the very first one that you ever had. It's the first one you remember because we all have a memory of at some point we became conscious of our menstruation or that we retain it in our memory. So that story holds the kernel to our femininity because that's where we were born as women. We were
mhm.
born as human beings at the time of our birth from our mother's womb. And then that birth as a woman, which was not as welcoming,
Yeah.
happened when we came of age. So that would be my recommendation to start there.
Wow. It makes me want to share with you my story.
You
Which,
could?
what, I actually will share this because I think a lot of people resonate with this is when I had my first moon, my parents were away that weekend. They went on a little retreat by themselves, which they so needed because there were 7 kids in the family. And I was the oldest girl. I had 3 older brothers. And so I was very serious about being a tomboy. I already was rejecting my femininity. And when I got my first moon and my mother wasn't home, I knew what it was and I was freaking out. So I got her on the phone and she told me to go in her bathroom and find the tampons. And, and the immediate thing was like, don't tell anybody, we have to be really hush hush. This is like, and there was just a strange sensation of, and then like forcing this tampon up me, which in itself is a way of suppressing ourselves, suppressing our voice, suppressing the energy. And then about 2 weeks later, of course, my mother told my father, and my father's a very sweet man. I love my father. But he and I were in the car alone. We were driving someplace, and he reached over to me. I don't even remember if he patted my leg or whatever he did. No, I don't think he did that. He actually just commented in a very heartfelt way that he was very proud that I was becoming a woman. And I was horrified. I was so filled with shame. I mean, that was my response to him seeking to congratulate me,
Mm.
you know?
Yeah.
And so I think about these girls that are fortunate now to have parents that are honoring this beginning of their moon cycle. I mean, I have a friend who did a ceremony with their daughter and a group of other women, and I think her daughter felt a little embarrassed about it. And yet I know later on her daughter was very grateful for it. So I'm really celebrating the work that you do and that others do to help us feel proud to step into being a woman, because like my story, like many other stories, I didn't feel proud. I was like hiding it. It was like, oh my God, my brothers shouldn't know, or they should know I got a bra. Or I mean, anyway.
Yes. Yeah. I can relate 100% with the hush hush and the shame and the secrecy about it that my mother passed on to me. I can relate 100% to the fact that she told my dad right away, and he didn't come to say he was proud, but I just knew from her that she shared with him, and I felt mortified and
Yeah.
mostly angry that she didn't ask me.
Ah,
It felt really private and personal. And if she asked, I would have said no, but she didn't give me the opportunity. She just shared it with him, and I felt betrayed
yeah.
by that action. And what you're saying and the way it touches my story is a common thread among women in so many cultures. I see no difference from traveling in so many countries and cultures and teaching online women from so many countries. There is no difference. The difference is in the details. The story of the first blood has different locale and a different detail to it, but the feelings are absolutely joint and common to all of us. And
Mhm.
that happened with the most striking awe that I was struck by was when I sat with Jewish and Palestinian women. There was
Yeah.
no difference. These women who felt so different in their beliefs and in their outlooks and in their outbringing and religious versus atheist and political views and all the differences you can imagine. And yet it all melted down to nothing and dissolved as soon as we started talking about our first blood, because that's where we met and we were one. Every single woman in the room could relate to every single story
Mhm.
on the emotional level.
Mhm.
So what you shared here is exactly a demonstration of here is a wound that you may not have known that you had, that it's something with that girl who's shamed or
Mhm.
embarrassed or afraid. We don't think of her often, but she's still inside of us.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And shame is definitely a big one for most women and
Yeah.
men too, but a lot of women. It's definitely part of our woundedness.
Yeah, and it
Oof.
reflects, it's not only shame about our blood and our cycle, but it reflects to shame about our body. How many women loathe their body? How many women don't like how they look? So it really is, when I'm saying it's the birth of our femininity, it's not just our cyclicity and our menstrual blood, it's our womanhood, which we
Mhm.
don't embrace.
Mhm.
So
Our
this is
sacred vessel.
the root.
Yeah, and I didn't for a long time. I mean, well, anyway. Um, thank you. Thank you for your wisdom there. Let's see. In your work, do you help women connect with Gaia's womb heart? Is that
Yes.
something that you draw in? I would love to hear you talk about that.
Well, the womb is a matrix, and all of our wombs together together with the womb of the earth is the greater matrix. So we're fractals. Our wombs are fractals of the womb of the earth. We all have that fractal within us. So often we work together on the fact that we are part of a network or a web more than a network, a web of wombs that is not only expanding horizontally to all women who live now, and that includes, by the way, women who had their womb surgically removed, because they still have an etheric womb. They had years of having a womb and cycling, so they still have the imprint and the signature of the womb. So not only horizontally with all women that have or had a womb, but also back in time to all women who ever lived, because they all had a womb. And also forward to the girls that are now growing and have a womb, and to the generations that will be born. We are all, it's a matrix, it's a network of wombs that we are a link in that chain.
Beautiful.
And earth is, of course, the container.
So, it's a perfect sort of broadening there with what you're sharing to what this global grid focus is being called forward for this fall, is to activate this matrix of womb hearts.
Yes.
Connected to Mother Gaia's womb heart. And I also have received on the spirit plane to encourage people to also connect in with our oneness with the womb of creation. And I'm curious if you have anything to share about that.
I'd like to say, before we talk about the womb of creation, I'd like to talk about the heart and the womb again, to go back to that, to bring the image of the heart as a sun, and the womb as a moon. So I touched upon the heart being a joint experience that we share with all human beings, not only women, and the womb being our lunar. So it's as if we have a womb of creation or a universe of creativity inside of us. So here is our heart, and here is our womb, here is our sun, and here is our moon, and we are the earth. So we have that within us. And the womb of creation is again, I'm looking at the fractal of it, that we are an instance of that cauldron of creativity that contains both the steadfastness of the sun in our heart and the cyclicity of the moon that expands and contracts, and together they create a whole.
Love it. Thank you. Beautifully said. If there was one little nugget of wisdom that you think everyone should know about the womb heart, what would that be?
I would go back to the cyclicity, because we live in a linear world across the globe. We are encouraged to be linear. We're encouraged to have every day be the same. We're encouraged to put everything in the light. So darkness, anything dark or black is threatening and scary. And in the dark, in the depths of the ocean, it's dark. In the depths of the womb, it's dark. In the depths of the heart, it's dark. In the depths of our dream world, it's dark. So the darkness is the place of stirring up of dreams. That's where we dream. We don't dream in full daylight. So I would say that we as women are cyclical beings that live in a linear world. So if you're asking me for a nugget about the womb, it is to reclaim and bring up, so that here is the linearity and here is the cyclicity, to bring up the scale, balance, to realize that they both are needed in order to create a whole, and to ask ourselves, where in my life am I linear? Where am I cyclical? How do I embody my cyclicity? And my guess is that for many, there would be a lot of steadfast linearity, modes of being and operating in the world, and not so much honoring and living and embodying the cyclicity. So the womb heart is both. It's
Mhm.
not one or the other. And at the moment, we're very lopsided because it
Mhm.
is one, not the other. So that would be my invitation, to bring awareness and consciousness to our cyclicity and to raise it up to be a counterpart, an equal in par counterpart to the sun, the moon within us.
Beautiful. When I'm listening to the words you're using, it just brings to mind, and I'm sure you think about it, or maybe you think about it this way too, is the masculine is defined as the linear thinking, and the feminine is defined as the cyclical, the intuitive. And so what you're getting at is where we are headed. And I'm a huge proponent of this birthing of the new earth, and we're coming into a place of balance. We're going through the really chaotic stages right now. So
Yes.
what you're talking about is bringing the scales of both so they are in balance between the beautiful masculine attributes, which can be, in many ways is the linear ways, and then the beautiful feminine attributes. So I love the way that you express that. Thank you.
You're
Um,
welcome. And I would say something more, because since we want to often embrace cyclicity, the word linearity became almost like a bad word. So I want to say that the sun is more than linear. It's steadfast, it's constant, it's dependable, it doesn't contract and expand. We don't see ever a sliver of the sun. We
right.
don't have a dark sun like we have a dark moon. So there is a constancy, a dependability, a warmth, and a light to it that we all have from our heart. That's how our heart is that glow of constant, stable, dependable sunshine. Of course, we all have shadows and it can be obstructed, but it's not taken away, it's just shadowed. But in essence, that's what it is. So I wanted to reclaim that, just from using only the word linearity, which often we associate with negativity because it's not cyclical. So it's not one is good and one is bad. They really are needing to be in balance, and they each are contributing to the whole.
Mhm. Yeah, thank you. Because it is easy for us to kind of label something as negative, and whereas there's an important role for it, very important.
Yes.
Um, so would you be able to lead us through a short meditation to connect with our sacred womb space, our womb heart?
Sure,
That'd be
sure.
wonderful. And before you do that, I definitely want to encourage you to talk about the August 31st, your womb activation day. And I don't know if you want to do that now or after your meditation, but I definitely want to give you time to talk about that.
I think after the meditation, we'd want to let it settle and not talk about
Yeah,
anything else. So I'll speak now about the global womb activation, then
please,
we can go into meditation.
please.
So the global womb activation was came to me in meditation last year. So this August 31st will be the second annual. This is 2021. So it was birthed in August 2020. It was the height of the corona time globally. We were in a place of despair. Many people around the world were in a place of despair. And it was very clear to me, revealed in meditation, that we have a cauldron of transformation within us. We have the ability to awaken something profound inside of us, to radiate to the whole. And paired with that, the realization that our womb is invisible, that it's not represented in art, in paintings, in sculptures, in poetry, in song. There isn't there. The heart is all over the
Yeah,
place.
yeah.
There's a representation of heart everywhere and in all art modalities. But the womb is invisible. So I was guided to call the global womb activation to be a place and a highlight where people, women around the world are invited to create Wombheart from whenever we started speaking about it, building up to August 31st. So I invited women to post on my Facebook page, which is Red Tent in Every Neighborhood, all manner of Wombheart, whether that they've created before or just to be inspiring women to create Wombheart in terms of poetry and paintings and sculptures and movements and dances and songs and anything to really flood. So the intention last year on August 31st, 2020 was to flood social media with womb art.
I love
And
it.
we've done that. And this year I've added to it, which came also in meditation. We are still building up and inviting people and women all over the world to create Wombheart and to flood social media on August 31st, but also to use our womb as a PowerPoint that can transmit healing to the world. There are so many points of suffering on the globe right now.
Yeah.
There are floods and there are fires and there are chemical spillages and there are hurricanes and there are tornadoes and
Yeah.
the earth is ailing. So the intention this year with the transmission that we'll have live on Zoom on August 31st would be to create a global womb activation to send healing, to unite our wombs and send global healing from our collective wombs, from our collective matrix of the womb to the earth who is ailing right now. So I invite you, I think Mayor will put the
Yep.
link there, and I invite you to sign up. So the sign up will allow you to receive the Zoom link so you can be live on 31st of August in this global transmission.
Beautiful. I will put that link in the text below this video on YouTube so people can join you that way.
Thank you.
And, you know, so again, August 31st is when this is happening. Sign up in advance for that. And, you know, and it's interesting because exactly what you described there, I'm listening to and I'm going, well, this is the same vision I was given for the goddesses grid. So, you know, the more we can do this, the better
Yes.
for us, the better for Mother Gaia and
Yes.
humanity and all sacred
Yes.
life here on earth. So it's beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you. So please, would you like to lead us through a meditation?
Gladly. So I invite us to close our eyes and take a deep breath. I invite us to place one hand on our heart and one hand on our womb. And first to just be there, not fixing or changing or shifting anything. Feeling the rise and the fall of the breath. Feeling the pulse of the heart and the pulse of the womb. And in our mind's eyes to create a figure 8 around our heart and our womb, a symbol of infinity, in which our heart has a circle around it and our womb has a circle around it, and they are connected in a point in between, like the figure 8. You can envision it in light, in color, in energy, in sensation. It doesn't matter. The first instinct that leads you to imagine it the way you imagine it is right. There's no right or wrong. And taking a moment to encircle the heart and the womb with this figure 8, connecting them to each other. And feeling our heart as a sunshine, glowing bright and warm and light in the center of our chest. And feeling our womb as the moon, expanding and contracting, moving from fullness to darkness, to fullness again, darkness in the sense of There is no light of the moon for a moment, and then the sliver begins and grows and becomes half full and 3/4 full and full and luminous, and beginning to diminish to 3/4 full and half full and quarter full and a sliver and dark again. And so it begins, the cycle of expansion and contraction, and inviting our third eye to call and pull this expanding and contracting moon to circle the heart as it expands from sliver to fullness, from fullness to sliver and darkness and back again. It dances, it circles around the heart that is steadily luminous and warm and shining from the center of our chest. And the moon, our womb, is circling around. And in this moment, inviting us each inwardly to tune first into our womb as it cycles, expanding and contracting, and inviting a message for yourself in this moment from your womb, and listen. And thank your womb. And as it continues to expand and contract, move your attention, your inner light, to your heart, to the sun within you. And invite a message for yourself in this moment from your heart, your inner sun. And listen. And thank your heart. And come back to the circle of each with the figure 8, connecting the heart and the womb, knowing that this symbol of infinity is alive and pulsing at all times, whether you are aware of it or not, and inviting you to become aware of it as often as you remember during your day by taking a quiet moment and breathing and re-establishing your connection to your heart, to your womb, and to the symbol of infinity that connects them. And letting your heart and your womb know that in a moment you're going to remove your palms, but your attention will stay focused, and that you will tune in as often as you remember. And let's take a deep breath. And with our eyes closed, gently, softly, release our palms and bring them to our lap or to our sides. And keeping our eyes closed, remembering the surroundings around us, the room where you are, what's behind you or before you, on your sides, what colors and shapes are around you, how are you oriented in relation to what's in your environment. And wiggle your toes and your fingers And let yourself stretch to bring yourself fully into your body and into this moment and into this consciousness of right now. And when you are ready and feel fully here in your mind, in your body, in this point in time, let your eyes gently open. Welcome back.
Mm. Thank you, Diana. That was really beautiful.
Thank you.
Really beautiful. Thank you, everyone, for listening to this. And please join Diana on August 31st. Sign up in advance. And please also join us for the Goddesses Grid, Global Grid on the 23rd of October. Honoring you, Diana, and your powerful, wise wisdom.
Thank you very much, and sending my warm blessings to you all.